This portion of the John Fredericks Show is brought to you by Hargrave Military Academy. Attend an educational and informative open house event at Hargrave Military Academy in Chatham, Virginia. For more information, visit online at hargrave.edu. Hargrave Military Academy. Build his future.
In studio, we have two key veterans with us. Pete Hegseth, he's the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, and Amber Barno. She is one of the advisors and writers for CVA. Both of them served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And right now, joining us to sort this whole thing out is Congressman Cory Gardner from the 4th District of the great state of Colorado. He's a Republican. And Cory, you had better, Representative Gardner, you had better success getting through on the telephone to us today than anybody has had trying to sign up for Obamacare. What's the deal?
Good morning. It's a pretty sad indictment of what every American is now required to do, to go to a website that may not work, to buy insurance that they may not want, and certainly may not be able to afford. That's what this president has done to us. And again, I think the fact that it's 2013, to build a website that costs more than Facebook and Twitter and have it completely fail, that is the definition of a debacle.
It is unbelievable. That's what Majority Leader from our neck of the woods, from the Richmond area in Virginia, Eric Cantor, called it yesterday, complete debacle. You know, Representative Gardner, one of the things that is bothering a lot of people is, it's one thing if this was a private company and so things don't work out, so you have choices. You can, go to some other company, some other site, or just, opt out of it or choose to fire them as a consumer. In this case, you don't have a choice. Basically, you got to go there under penalty of something bad happening from the Internal Revenue Service. And then they spent $650 million on this thing of our money. Now they're going to have to spend $100 million beyond that to try to figure it out. Where's the accountability?
And that's exactly what we're going to find out this morning, and that's what exactly we're going to pursue this morning at a hearing. I serve on the House Energy and Commerce Committee. We have 4 of the contractors who built the website coming into committee, including CGI, the prime contractor. And those are the kinds of questions we're going to be asking. We're going to be asking, when did they notice they first had problems? Because a month ago, when we talked to them, they said everything was going to be fine, everything was going to be ready to go. When were these red flags raised? How much did it cost? How much were they paid? Did they anticipate being paid this much? Were they directed in a political fashion to achieve political goals versus just making a website as user-friendly as possible? We can talk a little bit more about that because I think there's clearly some big questions about what the White House was trying to do politically instead of just making a user-friendly website.
Well, look, it's been our contention, Congressman Gardner, from day one that, what the Obama administration does is they reward their backers. So you kind of looked at the people that they engaged and paid this money for this site. They had already gotten fired from the Canadian government. Now, people don't, when you think of a model of efficiency, you don't really put the Canadian government up there. Well, they fired them. But these are all friends of the Obamas. They're backers of the Obama agenda. So they get the money, they fail. And now what happens? I mean, I think if this was a private company, there are a number of heads that would roll. But I guess that would be after they ask for the bailout, right?
Well, and the fact that it is a private company is one of the things that gives me hope about this morning's hearing. Because they're a private company, they're not beholden, at least I hope, not beholden to the administration. So this morning they'll be able to tell us the truth because the administration is trying to blame them for everything. And so, I think they're going to be able to tell the truth about, we were midway through this project and we were directed to do X, Y, and Z or what they wanted. But the fact that you use 10-year-old software that nobody else uses now, the fact that it was a sole source contract, I mean, these are things that just simply don't make sense. And what's even more critical to me as a Coloradoan, the CGI Group was the prime contractor on the state-built exchange in Colorado. We're one of 14 states that built our own, and CGI was also the contractor there, and our website is experiencing serious glitches as well.
So then who made the decision to engage them in your own state, Representative Gardner?
That's a letter we sent to the state exchange asking if they were directed by HHS, if they had interaction with HHS, and we're waiting on answers for that question. We simply don't know, but that's something that I'll be talking to CGI about today. When I logged on to the state-based exchange on October 1st, I was met with a website screen that said registration has been suspended. Clearly, it's having the same kinds of problems. We're going to find out.
Congressman, in studio with me, I've got Pete Hegseth. He's the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. They're on this Defend Freedom bus tour through the United States. And Pete was just telling our audience, Congressman, that if a veteran comes home and they apply for something with the Veterans Administration, that to just get an answer, it's taking them how many days, Pete?
On average, nationwide, 270 days. I don't know the numbers in Colorado, but it's pretty even across the country. 270
days average just to get a response, Congressman. I mean, is that right?
Yeah. Good morning, Pete. Thanks for being there, and thanks for your service. This is unacceptable. It's something that we've fought in Colorado. It's something that I know there are a number of people fighting across Congress, both sides of the aisle, quite frankly, because 270 days is unacceptable, a delay. And it's not just that problem we're seeing. We're seeing issues with customer service. We get contacted by veterans who are being met with resistance when they try to get the help that they need and have, quite frankly, very much earned. And also, we're in fact, this just came up 2 days ago in my office where a veteran was trying to seek some of the benefits that they were entitled to, and we contacted the legislative office of the agency that they were dealing with, and the agency got back to this veteran expressing how disappointed and upset they were that they contacted their member of Congress for help. It's almost like they were seeking some kind of a retribution because this veteran rightfully complained about the lack of service they were receiving. And so that's where oversight comes in, and that's where the accountability is key. Heads need to roll over this, and that is something that is absolutely unacceptable. These people have earned their rights to the benefits through the VA system, and if they're being denied, delayed, it's unacceptable.
And Congressman, this is a nonpartisan issue. This is just a government employee management issue. What is in your view, what is at the genesis of these delays with the Veterans Administration? Is it that funding was cut over sequestration? What is it?
Well, I'm sure that's what they would say is that, it's sequestration, it's the budget cuts, or it's Congress's shutdown. Here's the reality. It takes management and the people willing to cut through the red tape. It takes people who are willing to change the way things are working and admit that it's a culture that isn't meeting the needs of the greatest amongst us. And until we change that culture through attitude personnel, it doesn't matter how much money is there. It's simply going to continue.
No, the congressman's right. It is a culture issue. It is the VA was exempt from sequestration. The VA is funded a year in advance. And actually, due to the shutdown, the backlog went down a little bit. So this has never been an issue of funding. It's had a 40% increase in funding since 2009, while the backlog has skyrocketed by 2,000%. The congressman is precisely correct. It is a culture problem of a calcified bureaucracy, unwilling to get out of its own way, that points fingers at everybody else rather than, like you said, heads rolling. No one has been fired since 2009 for this increase in this backlog. 0 people. That's why our organization, Concerned Vets for America, was the first one to call for Secretary Shinseki to step down. But even if he doesn't, he should be empowered to hire and fire dead wood at that department. If you're not getting your job done, you're fired. If you're doing well, we'll get you a bonus. But as I'm sure the congressman is familiar, even employees who are underperforming at regional centers are getting massive bonuses while the backlog grows. What incentive is there for you to do a better job, be better at your job if you're going to get a bonus no matter what? It is a culture problem with no accountability. It's what you see in big government. It's what you see in bureaucracies. And that's why I think civil service reform or finding a way to cut that dead wood is critical to a long-term solution at the Department of Veterans Affairs.
So, Congressman, how do you stop it? How do you rectify this situation?
Well, I think what Pete said is exactly right. We start looking at these pay for performance issues, merit pay. We start looking at the civil service reform that is needed to allow heads to roll. Look, I'm not somebody who goes out and says this person or that person needs to be fired every time I disagree with the administration. In fact,
Right.
I have said publicly that I don't think Kathleen Sebelius ought to be fired, because just like going into court with the evidence, you don't want to shred the evidence before you know exactly what's happened. So I'm not somebody who says heads should roll lightly. But in this instance, we have seen time and time again where they've failed to change a failed bureaucracy, and that's just unacceptable. And until they start making the stand that they're not going to put up with it, it's going to continue.
It was just for the average person out there, Cory, Representative Gardner, I have to tell you that a conversation like this causes such frustration, because you get two things going on. Number one, okay, these are our veterans that are in the line of fire, that served their country to defend America. Now they come home and they can't even get a response in a timely manner from their own their own Veterans Administration. I mean, that in and of itself is just it's just so wrong. And the second thing is, people that are out there driving to work today in the private sector that are looking at getting their pay reduced, getting their hours reduced because of Obamacare, they can't get a raise. If they don't perform, they get fired. There's always somebody else with 9% effective unemployment in the United States that has a resume at the door. They're not getting anything. And so you get these people that are getting paid no matter what, that don't do their job. They're part of their protected class. And so that is why people are so frustrated about what's going on in their government today.
Well, and not only that, it's back to the story that I mentioned earlier. When you are actually finding this delay as a veteran, when you're suffering through it, when you're waiting month after month after month, and you're being treated as if you don't matter, and then you're told that when you contact somebody to help you, you're even in more trouble, and they're going to bump you back even further. It's mean-spirited. And look, there are a lot of great people in the Veterans Administration, no doubt about that. But the way the overall treatment is moving forward, it's simply got to change in a different direction, and that's why I support changes that are being made. Great leaders in Congress, people like Mike Coffin from Colorado, have significant proposals in place to try to change this attitude and this mentality.
Okay, we're with United States Representative Cory Gardner, Republican from the 4th District of Colorado. Congressman, we only got a couple more minutes. We're almost out of time, but I do want to ask you, let's get back to Obamacare today. I know that you guys are going to be looking at the accountability for this site, but I think there's a bigger question. What's the long-term plan now? I mean, they can't even get the website to work. The people that have gotten on there are getting sticker shock. They're just amazed at rates higher than they thought they would be, deductibles higher, nowhere to go. What, in your view, Congressman, is the long-term answer now for this Obamacare problem?
Well, I think immediately, and you started to see the breaking of this last night, immediately the individual mandate needs to be delayed. Americans can't be forced into a situation where the IRS is going to penalize them for something that they simply can't comply with. And that's a broken website. So it needs to be delayed immediately. And then we need to replace this bill with a solution on health care that will actually work to decrease the cost of care, increase the quality of care. One of those ideas is the American Health Reform Act that's been introduced by Dr. Tom Price from Georgia, Dr. Rowe from Tennessee, members of Congress who come from the medical field, who understand what it takes to make a healthcare system work. If we do that, then we can actually see the results that the president promised instead of the broken promises of this administration. Okay,
I think that's the final word. Congressman Cory Gardner, we want to thank you for joining us, as always, on the John Fredericks Show. You have a great day. Always a pleasure, sir. We always appreciate the time and your candor.